In today's video, I want to go over a massive game reveal that is happening very soon. It was announced a little while back, but now that it's finally coming up, you guys may have forgotten that as a part of the Star Wars celebration in Chicago on April 13th, we are gonna get our first inside look on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, of course, EA and Star Wars games haven't been a match made in heaven, but there's a lot of excitement surrounding this one, and I'll explain why I have some enthusiasm for this game as well. But we've got some other stuff to talk about as well. A lot of you guys have been worried about The Last of Us Part 2, whether that game will be released in 2019 or not. When are we gonna hear more about The Last of Us Part 2? Well, a studio member of Naughty Dog is saying that we're gonna hear more when they're ready to share more. That's not much to go off of, but I want to give my insight on why we might not be hearing all too much about The Last of Us Part 2. Also, World War Z, a game we've covered quite in depth. We uploaded a video, 10 things to know before you buy the game, but it also recently got a gameplay overview trailer that gives you a pretty big insight in what to expect out of the game. I want to go over that and generally talk about World War Z ahead of its April 16th release. Final Fantasy XIV is going to get its next expansion, Shadowbringers, and ahead of that, a free Final Fantasy XIV login campaign lets inactive players return for 7 days, so that's something you guys should take advantage of. More on that at the end of this video, but first up, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is scheduled to be shown off later this week as a part of the Star Wars Celebration event in Chicago. Now, this was announced a while ago, but now it's finally coming up. April 13th, we are going to see Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, if you guys are unaware of what this game is and you have some hesitancy based on the train wreck that has been Star Wars Battlefront, although Star Wars Battlefront 2 at this point is actually a pretty good game, it was a train wreck from a promotional standpoint that even though it made a sizable recovery, it's kind of a hard sell to gamers at this point. But nonetheless, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a completely different experience as it's a single-player focused Star Wars title, and it's being developed by Respawn, which is really interesting because Respawn is one of the more heralded studios right now because of games like Apex Legends, and of course Titanfall 2 has just generally been more and more well received over time. Now they're doing something completely different. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order being a single-player driven title, it'll be interesting how they deliver on this, but April 13th we should see in-game footage of the title, and it should be out before the end of 2019. So Respawn is staying very, very busy. They put out Apex Legends, there's rumors of Titanfall 3 being put out this year, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I'm not sure about Titanfall 3 actually being released this year, but Jedi Fallen Order on top of Apex Legends, they've had a pretty whirlwind of a 2019, and that looks to continue for the rest of the year. So remember, April 13th, first gameplay footage of that, and we should get an inside look at it, considering the release shouldn't be all too far off, and EA is skipping out on E3, so they're gonna reveal information in different ways. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, you'd have to imagine that it would get a sizable reveal because it's not gonna have that big gameplay demo at an E3. Alright, next up, a lot of you guys have been wondering why we haven't heard about The Last of Us Part 2. The last time we heard some major information about the game was all the way back at E3, and with Sony not being a part of E3 this year, a lot of concern has been raised on whether or not we're gonna see any more major updates about the game or when we're gonna see major updates about the game. Some people are concerned on whether or not it's gonna be a 2019 release. I am still of the notion that this will be the PlayStation 4's major 2019 exclusive, but nonetheless, somebody tweeted out over to Arn Mayer, who is the community director over at Naughty Dog. Seriously though, Arn, it's almost approaching a year since we last heard anything about The Last of Us Part 2. We know you guys are working extremely hard finishing the game, but would it hurt for you guys to at least keep the fans excited by giving us some new info, trailer, date? He responded saying, can't say much, but we'll put new things out when it and we are ready. Appreciate you and all of our fans' patience. Now, I'm actually of the boat that I like to see less of games these days. I don't know if I'm in the minority on this, but The Last of Us Part 2 is a game that when it's released, you are not going to have to do a ton of sizable promotion and revealing insight on the game's mechanics and whatever the case may be, storytelling elements, to sell people on the game. No, Naughty Dog has already built a track record on incredible games. We already know how incredible the first title is. The footage we've already seen, the decent bit of it, mind you, has already sold us on The Last of Us Part 2. What is a new trailer gonna do? What is another 10-minute gameplay demo gonna do? Is it really gonna get you any more excited for the game? Is it gonna win you over on from not buying the game to buying the game? I don't think that's the case at all. As we get closer and closer to the release, yeah, throw a gameplay trailer here and there, throw us a story trailer or a story tidbit here and there. Don't reveal us too much, because I feel like that's an issue with a lot of games. They're in development for so long, and you just put out footage after footage, or they'll just go MIA for years, and then the anticipation kind of dissipates over time. I hate to bring Square Enix into this once again, but that happens a lot of the times with Square Enix JRPGs, and I'd like to see gaming move away from that a little bit. Sure, if it's a case of you want to reveal footage and get insight from the community and see how the game evolves, but in this case, Naughty Dog knows where to take The Last of Us Part 2. It's nearing its finishing stages, and community input isn't really going to change the course of the game. And again, I do believe The Last of Us Part 2 will be released in 2019 at the end of the year. It was already listed with all of those other PlayStation 4 titles on the PlayStation's official website, and all of those games are scheduled for 2019 except for The Last of Us Part 2, but it was grouped in with 2019 titles, so I imagine it's gonna be a 2019 game, and you know there's gotta be a heavy hitter PS4 exclusive for the fall. You would think The Last of Us Part 2 would be that game because Ghost of Tsushima's probably not gonna be out until 2020. Dead Stranding's probably a 2020 game, so what other options are there? You've got Dreams, which is hitting early access this month. That might see its full release in the fall, but I wouldn't really categorize that as a major exclusive in comparison to what we've seen in the past with like a Marvel Spider-Man and titles such as that, so you guys get the idea. Again, I do believe the game will be released by the end of the year, but hopefully we see a little bit more ahead of its release, and hopefully we get a release date announcement rather soon. Next up, I do want to give you guys a heads up on World War Z. The gameplay overview trailer was put out pretty recently, and that gives you an insight in, well, the gameplay of the title, and we uploaded a pretty in-depth video looking at all of the mechanics of World War Z and what you guys should expect. Check that video out. It was titled 10 Things You Need to Know Before You Buy World War Z, and it's out April 16th, so the release is coming out very quickly. And if you guys are unaware of what it offers, World War Z's co-op campaign takes place across 4 episodes, each containing 3 chapters set in New York, Jerusalem, Moscow, and Tokyo. Before diving into a chapter, you will need to select a class and weapon loadout, whether supporting the team with ammo and heals, specializing in explosives, or unleashing devastating firepower. You'll find a class suited to any playstyle. In World War Z, every play session tells its own unique story of survival through the help of the AI director, which constantly adapts to the actions of you and your squad. For example, a stealthy approach is rewarded with far less zombie spawns, allowing you to conserve precious ammunition. When it comes to massive swarm events, struggling squads may also be granted additional defensive equipment, such as an extra auto turret or mortar, so you can see the gameplay really alters depending on how you're playing the game, how well you're doing. So that's a pretty interesting twist that World War Z is offering, and alongside the narrative-driven campaign, players can also compete against each other in 4v4 across a variety of PvPvZ modes. That's player versus zombies. This includes zombified twists on classics such as King of the Hill, Domination, and Deathmatch, alongside the all-new Scavenge Raid and Vaccine Hunt mode. So in terms of its gameplay, it's offering a lot of variety in what it offered. Best of all, the game is being released at a budget $39.99 price point, so hopefully it turns out pretty well. Generation Zero was another game that I touted a lot for its $39.99 price point. Unfortunately, that game didn't turn out all too well. Hopefully World War Z does offer something better. It drops on PlayStation 4 on April 16th. And lastly, I do want to give you guys a heads up on a free Final Fantasy XIV login campaign ahead of the Shadowbringers expansion. If you log in between the period of April 8th and June 17th and you are an existing Final Fantasy XIV player, it lets inactive players return for 7 days and lets you experience all the world of Final Fantasy XIV. Of course, I have touted FF14 to be one of the most compelling MMO offerings, not only on the PlayStation 4, honestly in all of gaming. It is up there with the best MMOs. Of course, MMOs on a little bit of a downslide these days, however, they still offer very engaging experiences, and Final Fantasy XIV is a game that definitely fits the bill. Some details about the free login period: it begins as soon as you log into the game launcher using your Square Enix username and password, including the day on which you first log in. The free login period lasts approximately 7 days. Players who are logged in when their free login period expires will be forcibly logged out from the game. Players with multiple service accounts registered to a single Square Enix account cannot participate if at least one of those accounts is currently active. Service accounts that have been canceled or suspended due to a violation of the service agreement cannot participate. Players who purchase a subscription during their free login period will forfeit the remaining amount of said duration period, and players can log in using all platforms on which their service account has been registered. Do be noted of the fact that Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, the latest expansion for Final Fantasy XIV, will be dropping July 2nd, so if you want something to get really invested into over your summer break, FF14 definitely fits the bill, and with Shadowbringers coming directly in the midst of summer, hey, that's not a bad game to get into. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, we're finally gonna see Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order April 13th as a part of the Star Wars celebration in Chicago. I'm excited to see what that game is gonna offer. It's a single-player Star Wars game coming from Respawn. Respawn, mostly known for their multiplayer games, Apex Legends, Titanfall, so this is something a little bit different for them. Hopefully the Star Wars and EA relationship can get back on track. Honestly, it never was on track because Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 were complete disasters, but maybe Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order will change things up. More information about The Last of Us Part 2 will be revealed when the team is ready to reveal that information. We got a gameplay overview trailer of World War Z, check that out. And if you were a Final Fantasy XIV player in the past, you can return to the game for a 7-day period ahead of the release of the Shadowbringers expansion. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.